and we're live. You're listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show.
Hosted by Brandon Davenport, aka It's Brandon D.
Well, good morning. Another week in the Hedera land, Hashland, Hashverse. HBARbarians, what is good? Lots to talk about this week. And we have Patricia from SentX Marketplace stopping by, which will be great. You know, NFTs in the Hedera ecosystem are such a unique thing, I think, in the whole crypto space, just because of the technology, the community, the story, the history. I have my own NFT projects. There's many NFT creators in the space, but as we know, NFTs across the board are kind of down, and we've been struggling with a lot of problems in this ecosystem. But we're also seeing so much change and movement, so many different things. So when I think about NFTs now in the Hedera ecosystem, one of those people is, I think about Patricia, right, as the CMO of SentX. So we're going to have her on the show in just about half an hour for a conversation about all that, which will be great. And yeah, like we got Bones. Good morning, Bones, an NFT creator in the space. Philip, what's good? LFG, Zildjian, good morning. Dan, good morning. No Man, frequent listener and viewer of the show, says, please make it all make sense. Atma TPS dead on arrival, change in fee structure, BankSocial SLP drain, Mance joining their advisors before the incident, no new governing council members, no new scaled enterprise use cases. No, man, I hear you. There's a lot of stuff on people's minds. I think the problem is, like, unfortunately, I don't know about a lot of it. I know you mentioned changed fees. I want to take a look at that because I haven't really seen anything in regards to that. So if you have any more details, leave a comment. Maybe that was something that was just kind of breaking today. Dan, good point. NFTs are still evolving, 100%. Let me take a look because maybe there was something about fees. I don't know. On the Hedera blog, pricing smart contracts. Oh, there's a smart contract related article on the Hedera blog. I have to take a look at that. Right on. Cosmic. May the cosmic energy guide HBAR to the freaking moon. Right on. Theo, good morning. Hello. All right, let's dive into it. As everybody knows, the show is live. Hashgraph Enthusiasts every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. On X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Make sure to tune in, support the show, all that good stuff. If you're watching now, leave a comment. What should I be talking about? If you have any questions for Patricia at SentX, happy to bring your comment up on screen. There is an article on the Hedera blog. I don't think it has anything to do with fee changes. Interesting. Yeah, I don't quite know what you're talking about, no man, but in regards to the fee changes, but gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So no man saying not aware of any fee changes, but just wondering if the potential cause of Atma slowdown. I mean, let's just dive into this. We got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive into Atma. So as a lot of people have kind of seen, AtmaIO from Avery Dennison, as we know, is kind of like the big use case on Hedera. Hundreds of millions transactions per day. And we know it's subsidized by the HBAR Foundation and HBAR is sent to an account for Atma to pay for those transactions. We know from Rob Allen that Avery Dennison and Atma have put in a substantial investment in the infrastructure for that, which is great. And this isn't HBAR being sent to Avery Dennison or Atma that is going to pay employee salaries or whatever. It's just paid to, for paying for the transaction. So in effect, this HBAR is being sent to AtmaIO, and that HBAR is filtering back into the Hedera treasury and back to the staking rewards. So net positive, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of opinions about it. I think the negative aspect is, hey, it's not liquidity coming in from the outside. It's not like AtmaIO is buying this HBAR on the open market to pay for these transactions. So could be better. But if we take a look at, first off, let's go to the Hedera revenue dashboard from Hashgraph. If we go to the past week, this is where it gets interesting, right? If we look over the past quarter, let's say, I'll zoom in. This is revenue generated by the Hedera network via transaction fees over the last quarter. This is the AtmaIO payer account. If we remove that from the revenue figures, obviously we see that revenue drop substantially, but this is real revenue, right? So this is a very useful tool. What's interesting is, you can see the dramatic difference here, but if we go to the last week, there isn't so much of a difference, right? And that's because AtmaIO is not currently running transactions through. Unfortunately, we don't have the Metrica dashboard anymore. Metrica is a tool that I've used quite a bit, and there's a notice on the Metrica website. As of October 1st, 2024, the dashboard is depreciated. So we don't have access to this anymore, which is unfortunate. So we lack visibility on certain metrics. Luckily, we have a community project, long-time community project, HederaTransactions.com, TXNS.com. We're at 3 TPS right now on Hedera, with Atma removed. So again, this is a little alarming for the ecosystem just because, as I've said, AtmaIO is the big deal, right? We saw Greg Bell from the HBAR Foundation on the NASDAQ show talking about Hedera in the context of the new Canary HBAR Trust product. So really touting the success of the network, the numbers of transactions. We're not seeing that right now. Now, it is worth saying that this drop-off does happen. AtmaIO transactions do drop down. And we have seen it in the past last as long as 2 weeks. So I don't think there's any cause for alarm right now. Of course, it's not a great look. It's not a good feeling, but I don't think that it's like a massive issue. Hedera Bull, good morning. Renly, GM. Yeah, so no cause for alarm. AtmaIO, we have to see what's going on, but I imagine, it's definitely going to be very similar to what we've seen in the past. Now, the title of the show today, of course, is Uptober, Where Are You? And Uptober is kind of like a meme in the crypto industry, in the crypto space, generally because Uptober refers to the crypto community's expectation that October will be a bullish month for cryptocurrencies, notably Bitcoin. And, this is based on historical performance and factors like fiscal year-end adjustments, positive Q4 trends. So while many anticipate significant gains, and these are kind of supported by technical analysis, I've just seen many this year kind of not really buying into that. And there is definitely an increased volatility. And I don't think that there is like a massive Uptober vibe right now, Grelf, GM. So today, as of today, the crypto community sentiment towards Uptober is, I would say, mixed, maybe tilting towards being a little more bearish. And this is due to basically a decline in Bitcoin's price and the overall market. I mean, the S&P 500 has really diverged from Bitcoin price. Like Bitcoin hasn't really kept up with the S&P 500 index, which is interesting. And this really is like contrasting previous Uptober vibes. Now, remember, we're not all the way through October yet, so it's not like the end of the world. Now, I think that this is a unique October because, there is market overheating. We've had a lot of issues with inflation. There's a lot of global economic uncertainties, like the elections, like the different conflicts we've seen around the world. And so I think that from a fundamental standpoint, from a sentiment standpoint, I think there's a lot of caution and skepticism. However, there is on-chain data and technical analysis that is hopeful, that paints a brighter picture of a possible market rebound later in this month. So that's really kind of like, that's really where my head is at. Now, of course, we've seen pumps in HBAR. What does this mean really for HBAR with Uptober? Well, we really have to fight for awareness and accessibility, right? If we're going to have an impending bull market, if we're going to have, if we're going to have this magical October, which still could happen, I think that really it's so dependent on all of the different things we're talking about right now is awareness. Like it's really these two things. It all boils down to really these two things. It's awareness of this network and HBAR, and it is accessibility of this ecosystem and HBAR, right? So how many people know about it and how easy is it to get involved with this ecosystem? That means better marketing. That means better communication between the community and the governing council, all the different things we've talked about on the show in previous episodes. I mean, last week I had Brady on, the previous week I had Richard Bear from Hashgraph on. So lots of great conversations, all those types of things. And accessibility is just how easy is it to build in this ecosystem? How easy is it to get HBAR? There's a lot of improvements needed there. And I think that that's really what this means for HBAR is like. Sure, there's uncertainty. We don't really know if this is going to be a traditional Uptober, but we still have to keep the pedal to the metal. Very, very astute observation from Pluto from HashPack, Hashgraph enthusiasts, is major. That is true. Oh my God. There's one thing crazy. Okay. So, someone says, on X, tired of the commercials, can't watch anything, can't escape. So weird. So I have a feeling that on YouTube and some other platforms, maybe there's ads that run on these shows or something. I'll have to figure something out. But I don't know what's going on there. So if there are commercials that people are seeing during the live streams, let me know, because I'm not aware. I don't know if it's cutting anything off or anything like that. Rocking and rolling. A workaround there from Grelf says install uBlock Origin to block ads. Pro tip. Appreciate it. What else is going on? So Nodiens is a new project from Paulo Tasca, who is at the DLT Science Foundation under the umbrella of the Hedera ecosystem. Had a good chat with him in LA last year. And interesting guy, definitely somebody that is good to see engaging with the crypto and Hedera community. I mean, he's a really smart guy. He's a big name in the crypto space and just kind of in general. So this is a new project that has been released by Paulo Tasca and the people at this new startup called Nodien. And basically what Nodien is it is a, well, here, let me jump to the website here. There's a data-driven risk metrics platform. So basically all these different networks, right? You can see them here like Bitcoin, XRP, USDC, Ethereum, Solana, right? And then you've got Hedera here as well. And there's all these different scientific, mathematic, on-chain, off-chain developer methodologies here, ESG related stuff, community health insights, including data from, Telegram, X, Reddit, Y Finance, GitHub, all these different type of things. Basically, this platform is designed for kind of institutional investors, business, science, people who are looking at this industry, the distributed ledger technology industry, from maybe a more economic, scientific view. And these are the types of things that are needed in the space. A big conversation we have is, Hedera needs to be included more often in these types of tools. So this is really great to see. One call out here is a component of this dashboard that Paolo kind of highlighted on socials is, I don't know how to pronounce this, to be honest, the Gini coefficient. So basically this Gini coefficient in the context of blockchains is a simple way to show how evenly cryptocurrency is distributed among users. A higher number means few people hold most of the coins, while a low number means the coins are shared more equally among many people. So now in this context, obviously they're just using a 0 to 1. So in this scale, closer to 1 is better, closer to 0 is worse. And so right here, Paolo Tasca says, new insights show Hedera is leading the pack in consensus power, equality among other blockchains, outperforming peers like Cardano and Algorand. This may be due to also the fact of how the governing council is structured, the equal weighted voting, these different types of components. This sparked definitely a lot of conversation online. Someone says, I'm not sure what consensus power equality is, and at this point I'm too afraid to ask. Have no fear, Paolo responds. Consensus power and equality arises when a small number of blockchain participants exert a disproportionately large amount of influence over the consensus process, leading to centralization. This leads to security risks. So, new platform launched. I think this kind of stuff is good. There's another one, the Thiel Index, very, very similar. So this kind of stuff is needed, and this goes back into the conversation of we need Hedera statistics and on-chain data to be included in these types of dashboards that major folks are going to be looking at. So we're going to keep an eye on this. Nodiens, I requested beta access for it and stuff, so I want to see if I can get in and start using the tool, get a better idea of like what it's all about. This was announced fairly recently. But as you know, I'm at Hgraph. I'm a fan of data. So anyone working on that kind of stuff, I dig it. What else we got going on here? Someone asked about in the Q3 monster use case. Where are you? I talked about this the last episode and the previous episode. Go back and listen to that. Basically, my thoughts are, the anonymous source told me, back in March, Q3 monster use case, if everything goes according to plan. To be honest, this year has not felt like there has been, a plan to go according to. There's been a lot of volatility in the space and a lot of twists and turns and drama. So I would say that it's not off the table for this year for sure, but clearly we're past Q3. Someone was asking about, in the comments, they were asking about HashPack staking. We do have an update from Pluto on X with a screenshot of a GitHub pull request. This is very exciting. Pack staking. So this is going to be pretty interesting. We don't know a ton of details about it yet. I know there was some info out there, but from my opinion, we really have to wait and see what's going down. But this is really what matters to me is, development progress on, it looks like version 11 of HashPack with pack staking. This is as certain as we can get. So this is really, really great to see. So that's the update from my end of pack staking. I know there's a lot of conversation about it out there in the community, but I really pay attention to what are the concrete, developments straight from the source. Doesn't get any better than that. Speaking of GitHub, this was really great to see as well. And if folks aren't familiar with GitHub, GitHub is the kind of global platform and tool for software development everywhere. Whatever software you're using, it's probably managed on GitHub, including Hedera, which is now Project Hiero under the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. Go back and listen to episode 142 for details on that. I interview Richard Bear, who is on the technical steering committee. So this repository here contains a markdown file that highlights the status of the migration, because what we talked about on the previous episodes of the show is the most crucial part of the Hiero initiative is when and how does that source code get migrated to the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust? How are we going to know the progress? So there's a page in the repository that's showing us the status on a bunch of the different Hedera related deposit repositories, and their journey to the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. Very, very cool to see. I encourage this very much. They also provide their meeting minutes publicly, which is great to see. Then also too, shout out the project I'm a part of, Hgraph, leading mirror node and data provider in the ecosystem. We're in full support of Hiero. We've got a statement on the Hiero website now, which is awesome, alongside like, like HashPack is there, IBM's there, the HBAR Foundry's there, SentX is there, Hashgraph, IO Builders, Galaxy, Diamond Standard. So it's like, it's a group, it's a vibe. And Hedera retweeted it, so shout out. But I mean, this is where open source software is all about. This is, I really feel, the future of Hedera. So I think that so much is hanging on this initiative, and I want to do whatever I can to make sure that it's happening. What else we got going on? Am I missing anything? I'm not even going to talk about this. I'll just flash it on the screen. I was up late last night. I just did this. Almost 100 people like this. Oh my God. What else we got going on? Axelar. So this is very, very huge. A lot of people have been waiting for Axelar to come to the Hedera ecosystem because this is what brings interoperability. This is what allows HBAR to move amongst different networks. HBAR Foundation retweets this. Axelar Network posts a video about the Renaissance is coming, right? We can spot HBAR Hedera in the video. Boom, there it is. So if you're not familiar with Axelar, again, Axelar is kind of like the gateway, the protocol, the bridge for assets to move through ecosystems. And to be frank, a lot of use cases on Hedera are depending on this type of tooling. So this, in my opinion, cannot come fast enough. I'm following this story really, really closely. We talked about it a little more in depth last week, but wanted to just give an update about that. Very, very cool. Also, too, I saw this post from someone at Axelar. They were asked the question by Coinman, the H Barbarian. I wonder if Axelar could leverage Hedera's consensus service for fair ordering and timestamping of all actions on the network. No scalability problems at high network load, fixed fees, leaderless DDoS resistance, just my two HBAR. So this individual from Axelar responds, Hashgraph is cool. I remember reading the white paper 7 to 8 reading ago, maybe 7-8 months ago or year, who knows, when we were designing Algorand. For Axelar, we built it on the Cosmos SDK, which does the job well. The current implementation has been battle tested for almost 3 years now and has a clear path to scale. Would be cool to see alternative implementations of Axelar based on the different consensus mechanisms, but I don't think it's a priority for the community at this time. So this is like a nice snapshot of, I think, a situation that a lot of projects may find themselves in, right? Is we love Hashgraph. We really need more on this ecosystem to kind of claw in. So that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show in the context of Uptober, right? It's like, we need Hedera to be accessible. We need awareness. We need to focus on all the things that we're talking about. And I'm sure that I'll talk about with Patty from SentX in just about probably 10 minutes here. An update from Bonzo Finance. Bonzo Finance is one we're watching very closely. I've had Brady on the show last week for a pretty wild conversation about the governing council and the board. This is an update from Bonzo Finance, and just quickly summarizing, basically what they're waiting for is grant funding and resourcing to be placed in the right spots, right? Bonzo Finance needs Supra oracles to get launched. Supra oracles needs a JSON RPC provider to get launched. The JSON RPC provider needs money and resources, so that's where the HBAR Foundation steps in. And so there's just a log jam here. And it's really unfortunate to see a project like Bonzo Finance get delayed. This is an update from them. They're kind of stuck in limbo, but they're very optimistic. And again, borrowing and lending is going to be so crucial. Borrowing and lending accounts for, about half of TVL across crypto. So it's going to have a dramatic effect on Hedera. Someone comments, criticizing Supra or getting criticizing the HBAR Foundation, right? It's how crazy is this? This is taking so long. What's going on? And Brady responds pretty well, and someone jokes, this is how grandpa management looks like in Hedera Web 3.0 vision, just kind of joking about how sometimes things can really move slow. All these different types of things. Brady responds, you're not entirely wrong. But this is, I think, so important to keep in mind, guys. We must work as best we can with what we've got. Right? We must work as best we can with what we've got and try to improve upon it every chance we get. Hopeful and confident some larger organizational changes addressing root issues are coming to support this. So it is what it is. But we have to do the best with what we got. This is Web3, right? We got to do what it takes. I want to talk about something else real quick too. I want to get to as much as I can before Patty drops by, and then we'll have a couple other things to talk about after. I think after Patty drops by, we'll talk about frictionless airdrops. We're going to talk about block streams and block nodes. Those are two things we'll probably have to touch on after the fact. But first, I just wanted to, there's a lot of people are asking me about BankSocial, what's going on. I mean, there's a great lack of clarity. There is, not a ton of transparency that, I shared my criticisms on the last episode. We went in a little deeper on the last episode. The update this week is we've got new kind of official communications from BankSocial. We have a lot of speculation about what other problems could be lying under the surface, but, this update from BankSocial regarding the missing $400,000 went out, and it reads, quote, statement from BSL DAO LLC in conjunction with the financial BankSocial regarding the BSL DAO Hedera SLP funds. SLP means social lending pool. The BSL DAO became aware of the unauthorized relocation and subsequent liquidation of the HBAR in the social lending pool September 28th. And this actually happened on the 16th. So there was a long period where no one was aware that these tokens had moved. They became aware when a member of the Telegram chat inquired and was discovered by delegates that it had been moved. Since then, as the investigation progresses, all BSL DAO owned assets have been secured via multi-factor security mechanisms under delegate control with active monitoring. So the HBAR social lending pool was being stored in a wallet, which is no longer in use. And so they're asking the community to provide tips directly to IC3 and the FBI or the BSL DAO delegates directly. So that's the update. Again, not a ton. There's still lingering questions like who had the keys to that, as they say, wallet holding the social lending pool of HBAR. All those different types of things. So not a ton of answers. Some more questions raised. It's, I think that ideally on this show, when the dust settles a little more, when I have some more clarity on stuff, I think we can get a little more to the bottom of it. But that's where the story's at right now. Still some questions unanswered. And yeah, if anyone has any updates or whatever they want to share, please feel free to leave a comment on the show here, and I'd be happy to mention it. Also, too, speaking of, I mentioned later we're going to talk about frictionless airdrops. This was really, really great to see. HashPack completed one of the largest, or I'd say the largest airdrop in Hedera to 15,000 accounts. Sorry, guys, quick little tea break. 50 million Karate tokens were transferred to almost 15,000, almost 15,000 accounts. So I participated in this. It was really smooth. It incorporated the frictionless airdrop capacity or capabilities of the network coming in HIP 904. And essentially, if you had Karate associated, it was pack weighted. So there's pack token for HashPack. Depending on how much pack token that you hold, that determined how much Karate token you would get. So very, very cool. I feel it's kind of inspired by HBAR Bull's HBAR weighted airdrops. So very, very cool. I dig it. It was a good process and a good utilization of, I think, this kind of new functionality from HIP 904, just kind of getting it rolling. I think that it's so cool in this case for somebody to just essentially hop into the ecosystem, click some buttons, and get karate airdropped without having to do those associations. So that was a very interesting thing to see. And a quick mention too, HashPack is now integrated with KarateCombat. So this was something people were very interested in, where you've got the karate wallet application. A lot of folks use HashPack. So now we're starting to see the lines get a little blurred. We're starting to see some interoperability with these wallets, which is great to see. And I know that this was a top requested feature for HashPack as it pertains to kind of like karate, or top requested feature for KarateCombat as it pertains to wallets. So I think that's really great. Now we're going to switch gears. And I want to talk to Patricia from SentX. And real quick, before I bring Patricia up, again, she's the CMO of SentX, and I would say probably a Hedera community legend. SentX is the leading marketplace on Hedera and champions many builders, artists, and creators and founders in the ecosystem. And I mean, Patricia and I speak pretty frequently, and it's been a long time having her come on the show. Quite frankly, I'm kind of like, I'm surprised I haven't had her on the show until now. So I'm very looking forward to this conversation. And she really is my gateway into the NFT ecosystem on Hedera. So hopefully we can get some new insights as things come back to life here a little bit. But Patricia, it's so good to see you. I can't believe I haven't had you on the show until now, but it's really great to see you. How are you doing?
Hi, Brandon. I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, we talk all the time, but it's actually my first time here. So it was about time. I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How are things doing for you? How are things at SentX? I know that like the NFT market isn't doing that well, but how are things going for you?
Well, we take advantage of times like this to keep building, and it's something that we are actively doing. There's always new features being launched. We are always working on new sides of SentX in the background. So this is one of those times where we take advantage of, I don't want to say less people being around, but there's not as many tickets as before, and
Right.
things are slower for us. So we can really take advantage of this time to add more features to our platform that are currently being built. I'm sorry, but I can't leak any of them just
Hey,
now.
it's just us and a couple hundred of our close friends. So
Exactly.
that's really great. And you raise a good point. I think that sometimes some people will kind of be like, oh, it must be the worst when there's a bear market and not a lot of activity. But something I think people don't know is when you're a project founder, when things are going really well and everything's so busy and exploding, it's like sometimes even more stressful because it feels like you can't get anything done because there's so much happening,
Absolutely. I definitely agree. And this is why I say that this is a great time for us. It's not a great time in terms of less volume, of course, because we want to have more volume on the network and for us all, for the projects, for SentX, for the users that are involved, of course. But in this sense, it gives us more free time than what we have. And we know from before where things were so busy that it was really hard for us to build something.
Yeah.
And now we have that time and we take advantage of it. So absolutely.
Love it. Okay. So you want to take a trip down Hedera NFT memory lane with me for a second?
Let's do this.
So I think, so the thing is, so NFTs on Hedera like have a really crazy history. And I know that some folks might be watching that weren't a part of that history. And I think that it's a lot of it to do to the unique nature of the network. Like we've got the low fees, the royalties on the protocol, all these different types of things. I started buying NFTs on Hedera years ago. And I remember when the Hedera token service launched, I created some of my own projects and collections. There weren't many tools, including marketplaces, but it was a very exciting and special time. I remember people purchasing NFTs through like Twitter DMs. I remember mints happening on Google forms. we had problems in this ecosystem that no other network could have because it was so fast and cheap. And it really, I think, created this tight-knit community built on trust, because I remember buying NFTs where I would just DM someone on X, I would send them HBAR, and they would send me an NFT. That's like the worst way to go about things, but it's where this community came from, and it was so interesting. And so I kind of wanted to start our conversation in the past. Like, how did you get started in Hedera NFTs? What are kind of some of those memories you have, and why did you start an NFT marketplace on Hedera?
In terms of my personal journey, I came actually to Hedera, the NFT side of things, from a friend. We were together on the Ethereum side of things, on the NFT side, and then he told me, "Oh, but listen, Hedera also has an NFT scene," and I was like, "Oh, really?" Because I had HBAR for a long time, and actually, I had no idea there was an NFT scene on Hedera at that point until he mentioned that. So I'm not from the time where NFTs were traded inside Discord chats or Google Forms. And there were already some platforms in place when I came to Hedera. And one of my stories, it's like, I'm always super careful, but I like cute NFTs. And I saw a mint for a cute little hamsters that were selling on a platform. I don't remember the platform, but I saw that mint and I thought, okay, I'm going to mint a couple of hamsters because they are so cute. And I was on that Discord server, and the founder of the project was around at the time. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to mint a couple of hamsters. So I did. I got a gold hamster, and I was like super excited. Wow, a gold hamster. I never mint anything good. And I tell this to everyone. Like, I can have half the supply of a project if it's a whitelist, and I will not mint anything rare. This will happen. So I'm into the gold one. I was super excited. The gold NFT, yay, first time. A couple of days later, and I'm sure it was not more than a couple of days later, the project, the founder rugged. So I was like, of course, I'm into the gold, of course. Yeah, exactly. Of course this happened because I'm into the gold hamster. It was me. So
man, that's it's so funny. I mean, people brought up too, like, I don't know if you were part of the whole access thing, right, with the metacores and different stuff like that. There are all these stories. Like, I remember there was this like metaverse real estate land thing, like all these other projects. We've had our fair share of rugs in the Hedera NFT space, and understanding kind of what like the definition of a rug is. But yeah, I've had my own situations being in projects similar to yourself, but I'm kind of surprised, like a few days later, that that is crazy. And then, so you're in the NFT space, you're trying things out, you're diving into Hedera. Most people don't go, well, I'm going to start an NFT marketplace. So how did that come about?
Actually, that part, the same friend introduced me to Hedera Sentient. We were Hedera Sentient at the time. Right. And Sam was launching art collections because, for the ones that don't know, at the time, most people didn't know that Sam was a dev. So he was launching art collections because it was his escape from all the coding and his work. So then the conversation started because he decided he wanted a place to launch his own collections that would give him more options, more freedom for his own launches. This is now SentX that we all know. And from there, from the launchpad, it evolved naturally into the marketplace situation. And, these things are so sometimes random, but it's how the solid projects are born and stay around, because everything was derived from passion for the ecosystem. Wanting to have something different, to allow for more things during our own means, and then from that moment on, It is SentX now, with all the features that we know that they are a first for most ecosystems, like someone buying 400 NFTs at a time and pay
Right.
15 cents in fees. So yeah, it's still a record. It happened in May of this year, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, and it's still a record.
That's crazy.
Almost 500 NFTs at once. Yeah.
Wow, there's so yeah there are so many highlights like that in the ecosystem. And to your point too, I just wanted to highlight that there are so many projects like SentX, like HashPack, all these different kinds of community projects that to your point started out very, I would say, organically, just as a couple of people with an idea. You know, with the company I work for, Hgraph, with mirror nodes and stuff, same story. Like, you know, everybody knows about Hgraph now, and you know, we provide data analytics to, like, I mean, HashPack is one of our customers, and like we're all over the ecosystem. And when you go to the Hedera.com website, the numbers that you see are from our mirror nodes, and it's so exciting. But we started out as like it was a project between our CEO Tyler and Patches, and it was like, we've got this Hgraph Punks project, NFT project, and we got to get some data and this and that. And it's so when it starts out organically and genuine, it has a great chance of like really growing into something incredible. And so I definitely relate to you on that kind of story. That's what I see. So many good projects start out that way.
Absolutely. And since we are doing this for the passion that we have for the ecosystem and for the tech, it's really hard for projects like ours to come into the ecosystem, because we are native here. We are born in Hedera. And then to decide, no, I'm tired with this, I'm moving away. It won't happen, because we were born here and our roots are here.
I love that. Yeah. When you say we're born here, it's true. Like a lot of, like, maybe not yourself, because you kind of came from Ethereum, but for a lot of people, including myself, like HBAR was like the real first dive into crypto. So there is this, like, again, I was talking about the early NFT space, and there is this kind of tight knit community. So I agree with that 100%. Now, I want to just go in a little closer on NFTs, because again, this is your thing. And Hedera is like this self-described like enterprise blockchain with these like big companies and all these types of things. And sometimes I think that NFTs can be seen as like a joke, or like these worthless JPEGs. And if I were to say to you, you know, Patricia, I don't get NFTs. They're just overpriced pictures. How do they help the network grow? How do they help the ecosystem? Do they really matter on Hedera? What kind of do you say to those types of things?
It's very simple. Because we know that we have the tech in place that facilitates minting, trading, everything is so cheap on Hedera in terms of NFTs. We definitely have one of the best networks to have a vibrant NFT scene here, because it's not extremely expensive for a creator to launch here. It's not extremely expensive for people to buy them. Coming from Ethereum, I remember seeing network fees at $1,000, or being quoted for $5,000 just in fees alone.
Wow.
In terms of more traffic. So it's really crazy when you think about this, and then you think, yeah, I can trade an NFT on Hedera for 5 cents or even less than that. So it makes perfect sense for us to embrace this retail side as well, because when we think about it, where's the excitement from people in crypto? It's on the retail side. We don't have the core community, the ones that are here in crypto right now. Yes, they want enterprise adoption. I'm pretty sure that this is something that all networks want, because enterprise adoption brings massive utilization and use cases. But where do people start? With NFTs, with those JPEGs, where you are directly supporting a creator that has a talent, that has a skill, and you can now offer this peer-to-peer support by buying their JPEGs, by then showcasing it on X, because you make it your profile picture because you love that image so much. So it's that peer-to-peer connection. It's that attachment to someone, wanting to support, doing it directly. If you have someone that, for example, is a well-known artist, people can mint their work in NFTs, and then a company that with the actual painting, why not? You can say, okay, I'm going to do this. You mint the image, you pay for it, and besides having the NFT on your wallet, you will receive the actual painting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is possible in terms of NFTs. It's not like those. It's not the early days, the crazy early days where you would mint a JPEG and that's it. There's no other utility. There's nothing else that can be done with it. It's just a JPEG in your wallet. And we have gone so much farther than that. And there's so many things that are possible in terms of NFTs. And then it makes sense to do it on a network where you can do all that without having to pay a lot. And it's cheap, fast, reliable. You want it to be reliable. You don't want to mint the same image 10 times, 15 times because the transaction keeps failing on you. You want to do things on the fly. If you don't have the knowledge to do it, you want to go to platforms that have the know-how and you can trust those platforms to do it for you. And the platform needs to tell the person, okay, this is the minting fee that you are going to pay. And after the mint, the platform can go to the person and say, hey, listen, the transactions fail so many times that now I'm going to ask you for 3 times the initial payment that I asked for. It makes sense, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, those are real things. And I think that you raise so many good points. I mean, more broadly, we often, and I think when I say we, I think just the general public thinks of NFTs as like, again, a JPEG, a monkey picture, whatever it might be. And the reality is as we learn more and more, there's all different kinds of NFTs. Like there's NFTs where you can have multiple different types of files, or there's NFTs where you've got music, or there's NFTs where it's tied to a physical object. And so it's opening things up more. And then you go, oh, an NFT is also a carbon offset credit, or is a fractionalized home, or as we've seen on Hedera recently with the fractionalized selling of the whiskey caskets. It's like
gas capital,
okay, so
exactly.
The landscape broadens so much, and it really becomes less of like a new thing and more of a better way to do what we're already doing. And that's what gets really interesting. And you know, I think about Lehman himself saying his thoughts on NFTs, and he was saying, and this was years ago, he was saying NFTs are like what the email was for the internet. When you presented the internet to someone for the first time, they were like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to use it. And then when someone said, actually, no, here's a tool where you can communicate with friends electronically, then they go, oh, this is great. I'll use this all the time. And so they're using the internet, but it gets them into it. And I think NFTs was that for a lot of people years ago, and especially in Hedera. But then you raised the point where, and I've heard this, there's an artist said to me this years ago that really stuck in my mind, and this is a big reason I chose Hedera for NFTs, was they said, it's not like artists can participate in NFTs with just a couple dollars, or just a couple dollars. And I realized that like when we talk about NFTs, we often talk about artists, and artists don't have a lot of money. So when you mention Hedera, it's like there's a major problem solved there. It's so much cheaper to do that kind of stuff. So those are great points. You really get my brain going with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because imagine that you have the talent and you have the skills, and even if we don't consider the situation where artists usually don't have much money, imagine that it's a person from a country where the income is very low.
Yeah.
That person can change their lives utilizing their talents by selling NFTs. And who says this can't happen? Like, we are in a situation where everything is possible.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. Often I think that in general, I think sometimes to a fault, like in crypto, and I think many people think of it from a very Western perspective, right? Canada, America, but there is this whole other place. I think seeing your journey unfold is so great because there's all these different perspectives. And to your point, I think of some artists in some place where it might be so difficult to do art and sell it using traditional mediums. Like maybe they can't get a bank account. Maybe they can't sign up for a Stripe payment account to accept payments. Like maybe NFTs are the answer, you know, sending crypto back and forth and selling their art. So that's such a great point. Now I wanted to dive into kind of like, the market and kind of where we're at, because, it's been a nasty bear market. And right now, including me on the show, I'm like, where is Uptober? Where is this kind of like Uptober coming from? And I think it's been really bad for NFTs specifically, as we were talking about. And so in Hedera, we've seen a lot of projects die off, but we've also seen a lot of projects hold strong and survive. And so at this moment in time, where do you see the Hedera NFT community? I think you're one of the best people to help explain to us like the current state of the NFT ecosystem on Hedera. What is going on with Hedera NFTs right now?
Mhm. So you know that during bear markets, it's always a time where this happens. There's no way around this, because people get so upset, so frustrated with the price, that they end up losing. So at this point, our community got smaller because of that. Because people walked that price action that we were talking, and everything, it relates, and it trickles down to absolutely everything that concerns the network. So our retail suffered because of that. But I think at the same time, because we already lost some users, and because the ones that were really saturated already walked away, I believe that we are in a point where from now we can only grow, because the ones that are around are the ones that aren't going anywhere, and this will attract more people down the line, and then good launches will attract more people as well. We saw the difference in terms of volume when the Dead Pixels Ghost Club announced Drop 5. It was like everyone was thirsty for that mint announcement to be made, and as soon as it happened, there was an immediately people immediately got excited, started trading ghosts again. So we just need those key announcements from the projects that are in the ecosystem when they are doing something, and things are revived again. We saw that there's volume, there's money around that era, because we saw during the pack, the concierge items from HashPack, there were insane amount of volume around that time. So it's not a situation where we don't have the liquidity. We can have more liquidity, of course, but we have liquidity in the ecosystem. But people are waiting for those projects that they love and they support to make their moves, so that they say, okay, here, I have my money ready to deploy, and I want to mint Drop 5. So since I want to mint Drop 5, I'm going to buy a lot of ghosts from secondary, because I want to ensure that I have my whitelist for that mint. And this is how things go. It's the projects, every single project that is in the ecosystem right now, the brave ones that survived, are doing their moves. And the liquidity, the volume will come from all of that.
100%. You make a really good point where we're waiting for something to happen. Is it going to be the market that improves? Is it going to be some other thing? But there also is something to be said about like the internal engine of this community. And I know that a big criticism that our ecosystem has is when it comes to meme coins and NFTs is, oh, it's just HBARbarians buying and selling stuff with each other. And I kind of go, well, it's not a bad thing, but I can see the criticism there. But how else do you get it started? I always view it as kind of like a party almost. It's like, how are we going to get people to join our party if they're looking in and nothing's going on? It's not a bad thing to have some fun. Exactly. And so you make a really good point. When Dead Pixels announced that Drop 5, I think that when those major brands, those survivors, those large projects do that, it does send a signal to the Hedera NFT market to pay attention and go, okay, what's going to happen next? Why are they doing it now? There must be something going on. So that's a really, really, really great point. And kind of, I guess, thinking of it right now, how are kind of like, I know that you talk to a lot of different creators and different projects. Can you give me a better sense of kind of like, how are they feeling right now? They're probably pretty burnt out. They're probably pretty tired getting through this year, but they're still in the game. But could you help us understand, like, how are our creators doing in the space?
The ones that are still here, the ones that I call the brave ones, the survivors, and decided not to rug their projects and not to abandon their communities, they are pretty excited because when you stay for this long, you don't get discouraged. Yes, you get discouraged at some points when you see that your volume may be dropped, and you don't have as many trades as before. But then you know that people are waiting for you as well, for you to do your moves. So the ones that stayed around and stick around for this long are excited for what's to come. They are not thinking, okay, I stayed here for 2 years of a bear market and now I'm going to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. So the ones that we've seen so far, always building, always doing their things, and then we are seeing new creators coming into the space as well, and that's great. I can say, for example, I'm really happy to see a creator that started on the XRPL, is going to launch on Hedera now, their next collection. It's happening with us on the 15, and this is great signs because we are not that. It's far from that. There's people still from other ecosystems that want to give Hedera a try and want to mint here, because it's exposure for them as well. And fortunately, it's not one of those situations where we only see our projects wanting to go cross-chain. We also see other projects wanting to cross-chain with us. So that's great.
That's a really great point. I think that's a quality that many HBARbarians share, where like we don't have a plan B. You know, it's like this is it. And so it does make you confident. And what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is I get the sense that you're saying, hey, everybody, creators and projects in the NFT space are doing a lot better than you may think because they have support that we might not see right now. That's kind of the sense that I'm getting, is that there is a lot of support. There is a lot of confidence. Where my mind goes now is, besides just minting projects and these different types of things, what do I do as let's say like a collector or a community member to kind of help fan the flames of the NFT space, help these creators? What are some things that I can be doing as a community member, as an HBARbarian?
Absolutely. This is a great point, and it's super important for us to stay involved with the projects that we support, because sometimes people mean they walk away a bit from the project, and then they say, so what's new? Why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you pumping my floor price? What's happening? And it's really important because creators alone can't do everything. They need the support from the community. They need exposure, and that exposure comes from people helping, sharing their content. If a project does a post on X, for example, and no one from the community helps by sharing, by liking, by dropping a comment on the post to increase the visibility, that post dies there because no one else will see it. So it's really important for us as supporters of project A, B, C, D to check if they are posting something on X, give it a like, give it a retweet, something like that, because it's the way that we can expose our projects and our creators to the outside. Because we say, oh, but it's only Hedera folks. Yes, but how are we helping our Hedera projects reaching outside of Hedera? It's with exposure on X. We can, for example, if you are someone that moves around Solana, Ethereum, Hedera, you can talk to your friends at Solana, at Hedera about NFTs here, instead of being a situation where we wait for projects to do everything. Because we have great people in the ecosystem, but they are not superheroes and they don't have the skills to do absolutely everything alone. And when we enter a project, we should set aside a bit of time to be able to help that product as well. And not only be, okay, I'm going to mint this NFT and then I'm going to wait for them to do absolutely everything without any help from me. And I'm going to sell this at 10x the price of mint because they are amazing and they did everything alone. It's not going to happen. We need to be a united front on this and help the creators, help the projects here so that they have more exposure, a lot more visibility. Others come from other ecosystems as well, because you can be someone that supports NFTs on Hedera, on Solana, on Ethereum. It doesn't matter. Like, we need to be crypto maxes, not network maxes.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that. So, and you raised some really great points where there's a bit of an equation happening now where it was something I was talking about at the beginning of the show is like, it's so critical right now to get as much awareness for this network as possible, but also kind of like, what are you telling people about? And I think NFTs are a great thing to tell people about. And to your point as well, a lot of people look at NFTs as kind of like investments in a way sometimes. And NFTs are really cool because you have a direct connection to the creator, to the project owner, and you have so much influence over the projects. Like, you can contribute to the project. You can effectively, you know, pump your own bags in a way. Like, it's not like a lot of other stuff out there. So NFTs are really, really cool in that way. And then I start thinking about what you're talking about, like the larger crypto space, the larger NFT space. And it makes me think, you know, these NFT cycles, there's something that happens that kicks off an NFT cycle across the ecosystem, across these different networks. And I look at what's happening right now and I go, well, Hedera leads in technology when it comes to NFTs, but could this network spark the NFT wave of 2025? Would we have the capability of doing that? Because in the past, there have been networks our size that have done that have really kicked off a big bull run in NFTs. And I don't know, there's something that gets me excited where you look at this lull, this lack of activity, and you go, you know, what's happening over here? But then you think about it as an opportunity of like, hey, could we really do something big? Could the Hedera community really kick something off? Could we draw attention to this space? Do you think of things like that in that scale beyond just like minting and dropping within Hedera? Do you kind of think about like, how could we impact the whole crypto space? Could there be a big moment for Hedera? You know, does your mind kind of go there a little bit?
Yes, absolutely, because you mentioned that other networks did it in the past, and of course they did. Look at Solana. You have Ethereum as the major NFTs volume, and then Solana came, and they became one of the major NFTs volume. Exactly. So why can't we do the same? Of course we can. Here, it's a bit more than just community involvement. We need networking involvement as well. Because let's face it, the exposure that we can have as a community is less than the Hedera network as a network, than the entities connected to the Hedera network. Right. So we can do this if everyone is working towards this goal. If Hedera as a network decides, yes, we need retail, we are going to embrace retail, so we are going to make sure that we support the projects there. And I'm not saying support with funds, with visibility, because here it's about visibility. You have the Solana network talking about NFTs all the time, and I do this comparison because it's the one that really did this recently. And I say recently, we know that it wasn't a couple of months ago, it was a couple of years ago, of course, but we have the skills. Like you said, we have the tech. We don't have failed transactions. The prices are cheap. The speed is great. People can trade an NFT, have it in their wallets like in microseconds. You just need to open the wallet and it's there. So we definitely have everything in place. We also need a network to embrace retail, to embrace NFTs, to embrace DeFi. And then we certainly can be in a place where we create one of those major runs for us from that utilization, from NFTs, from DeFi.
It's exactly as you've been saying. We really have to do it it kind of opens it up a bit. We have to do this together. And that includes, Hedera, the HBAR Foundation, all these other different organs. So that's a great point. If we have the capabilities to do something like that, it has been done before, but I think that Solana managed to do it because they had that alignment. They had that focus. So that's a really great point. And now want to switch gears a bit, pull out a little higher, beyond just NFTs and really look at the Hedera ecosystem as a whole. So kind of like the saying this year is, retail pays the bills. I've got my retail pays the bills hat on. And I think that the HBAR community is realizing how powerful they are. And we're seeing a lot of good change in the ecosystem, but we're also facing a lot of challenges and problems. And, we really have to admit it's been a really, really hard year for the HBAR community. And I wanted to get an understanding of kind of where your head is at just as an HBARbarian in general. How do you view these problems that we've been talking about as a community? Are there opportunities that you see? Are you feeling unsure about the ecosystem?
Actually, I think that this is a great time to go ahead, deal with those problems that are surfacing, because we are not yet on a time of extreme excitement on a bull market or close to the peak of a bull market. So this is a perfect timing. Like when I was talking earlier about projects building, and this is a great time to build because things are a bit quiet. It's also the time to fix all the issues, to fix all the projects that surface, so that when you get to that excitement stage where you can onboard a lot of people just based on the excitement alone, because we all know that if HBAR does a 10x, a 20x in a couple of days, a lot of people will come from the outside just from that bump alone. And if all the issues, if all the problems are solved now, where it's still us, our community members, the ones that are here, we are still a growing community at this point. It's a lot better than down the road where you have a lot more people, you have a lot more eyes on us. And this is the time. This is the time to fix everything. This is the time for projects to work on building the last things that they want to build before we start seeing that excitement and that up in engagement, in community members that will come, because otherwise you will miss that opportunity. If things are not fixed by then, if people come here and they hear, this problem, that problem, and people are fighting between each other because of all those situations, as you know, people will walk away. If everything is done at that point, someone new will come to Hedera, and they came just because of the price action and nothing else, but they will come to Hedera and they will say, I like this community. They all are good with each other. It's a good environment. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to investigate more. I'm going to investigate NFTs. I'm going to investigate meme tokens. I'm going to investigate all the projects that they have to offer. And I'm going to buy a fractionalized whiskey cask. And all of that, it all comes from that actual excitement about the price going up. And the faster we solve things and all the pending problems, the better, because we will be ready for when that time comes, and a lot of people will come from that excitement. So yes, I don't see us succeed. I think that in terms of tech, everything is here. Now we need to work on those little problems on the background, fix what needs to be fixed, do it fast, especially. And have that network involvement and embracing retail, so that we have that increase in exposure as well. But yes, I'm confident that things will be fixed and solved, and things can only. I think that we reach a stage that things can only get better from here, honestly. So
Gotcha. Okay, we're in the dip. We're in the dip, and you're saying buy the dip. So I get what you're saying in all sorts of different ways. And I wanted to just kind of stay on one thing that you kind of brought up a couple times that I think is really important. Is you say kind of like Hedera needs to embrace retail. And I think that that's something that a lot of people have been talking about. But I wanted to just kind of pause there for a minute and maybe on that, what do you mean by, Hedera needs to embrace retail?
In terms of seeing the network or the entities that are connected, the foundation, the association, giving more exposure to the projects in the ecosystem. Because when you talk about us community members doing that, we definitely need to do that. But for example, if you have the foundation or the association retweeting a post from a solid project, I'm not saying doing this for a project that came to Hedera yesterday and people don't know about. They don't know if it's going to work out, if not. But for the ones that are here for a long time, that visibility from an ecosystem entity is a lot more than even us all combined as a community. So when I say Hedera needs to embrace retail, is by doing that, giving more exposure to the native projects. It doesn't matter if it's an NFT, if it's a meme token, if it's a team that it's here working for 2 years, they deserve that exposure. They deserve that support from the entities that are here, because they've shown that they are here with a serious vision in place. They are not just trying to get HBARs and walk away. No one does that for 2 or 3 years. It's just crazy. Like if you are going to rug, you are going to do it like a couple of months after or a year after, when things are so bad during the bear that you just decide to disappear. So if you stayed here for this long, you've shown that you are a solid project and that you are a solid builder, that you deserve that visibility, that support, that visibility. And again, I'm not saying just support in terms of funds, in terms of grants, but visibility, because visibility goes a long way.
It does. And you raise so many good points where it's not just about giving money or capital or funding to projects or creators. It's about this awareness. It's about these types of things. And I think that you get at something really important. And I think that is one of these kinds of problems that I really think needs to be focused on is we go, okay, so Hedera is open to sharing all sorts of NFT stuff on their Twitter account. Amazing. That would be huge. The HBAR Foundation is down to do that. Great. The next question is, how do they know what to talk about, right? Because to your point, it's really important to be sharing the right things, to be talking about the things that matter most to the community, to be sharing the projects and content that will drive growth to the ecosystem. And then how do you do that? Do these organizations go, hey, community, what do we talk about? Do they get submissions, or how is that handled? And where I go in my mind is, I think that the really hard truth lies in kind of that question is, Hedera shouldn't be asking that question. Hedera should know, right? These organizations should just know, as we know. They should be buying NFTs. They should be using these products. They should be communicating with these creators, because they would just know what to post. They would just know what to engage in. We saw recently, I think it was Coinbase putting up a new position for hire that's head of crypto Twitter, somebody who's going to get paid $200,000 a year to post on Twitter. That's fantastic. And so we're starting to see a lot of and again, Coinbase is one of the highest market cap stocks that you can buy. So we're not talking about just some crypto project. We're talking about something 10, 100 times bigger than Hedera hiring a Twitter specialist. So in my mind, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I think that's the problem there, is that maybe Hedera and some of these folks in leadership maybe just don't know what exactly to talk about, because maybe they're not using the ecosystem in the same way we are.
Mm-hmm. And this is where, that mention to Coinbase is a perfect example. This is where you need someone that has a deep connection with the retail side, that understands what are the projects that people value, what are the dangerous ones, because it's not only about knowing how to showcase a big project. There's smaller projects that can be showcased as well, as long as people are aware of the dangers. If you don't, if you're not around the community, you don't know if that smaller project deserves to be showcased or not. You don't know if the smaller project has red flags. So this is where being closer to the community, having someone that is closer to the community would definitely be a big advantage. Because, and Coinbase understood that, and like you said, they are hiring for someone to do exactly that. That person, of course, will have will be extremely engaged with the community, because otherwise, how can that person justify posting about this or that project if they don't have engagement there, if they don't have skin in the game in the retail side? So exactly, we definitely need someone that can bridge that gap and have that connection with the community, with NFTs, with DeFi, and can know and choose the ones that deserve that exposure, the ones that don't present those red flags, the ones that Hedera would not post about a project that would rug the next day. So this is the type of situation that community engagement and being there with us every single day is definitely something that is needed.
Absolutely. And there will be mistakes, right? It would be irresponsible not to remind people that you know, people in leadership at Hedera, sometimes these official accounts themselves have shared projects that have rugged. They have shared things that have gone wrong. And when that happens, the solution is not to say, well, let's not post anymore. You know, the solution is really about going, well, we need to get a better idea of what's going on. We can learn from this. We can, because they're not the only ones that posted about it. Many other people in the ecosystem posted about it too.
Exactly.
So I think that it's both our successes that bring us closer together as an ecosystem, but we can't let our mistakes drive us apart, right? And I think that that's been the hardest thing to see happen over the year from my perspective is people making all sorts of mistakes in this ecosystem, whether it's the governing council or the foundation or the community or wherever it is, and really starting to have it drive us apart in many ways. And I think that what we have to realize is that sometimes those things actually highlight how similar we all are, that we all kind of make those same mistakes, and we're all kind of in the same boat together. And so kind of, you know, I want to switch gears here again, just to kind of touch on something you brought up about new creators, new projects. And I think you've said it really well. Now is a great time to start a new project. And I'd have to agree with that. It's a little counterintuitive to go, well, the market's not great. Why get started? And I mean, if you look back, you know, two quick examples, you know, Microsoft and Apple, those two companies were started during a recession. So sometimes downturns and bad times are good times to start a project. And so I wanted to maybe give you an opportunity if, let's say, for example, I was starting a new NFT project on Hedera, what advice would you have for me?
The most important one is build a community. Because sometimes we see that a project or a creator, they come to Hedera and half a week later, they are already talking about, okay, I'm going to mint a collection, I'm going to launch a token. And they didn't have the time to build connections here. They didn't have the time to really explore our users, to engage with them. So it's really important for any project, any creator that wants to come to Hedera to really create roots here before talking about a launch event, before talking about a mint. Otherwise, it's going to be complicated. But at the same time, imagine that you decide to launch a collection now, and it did not sold entirely because the ecosystem, because of everything that is going on, or because people are not there for mints right now. Just the fact that you try to launch a collection, and even if it didn't sold out immediately, the fact that people saw you, that visibility, and the fact that 6 months from now you are still going to be here, and you tell people, okay, so let's do this again, let's try it. People will see, okay, this person tried, but they still stayed around. It wasn't the thing where they tried to launch a collection, it didn't work, so they just disappeared the following week. They are here, they tried, it didn't work, they are here, they are going to try this again. Okay, now I'm going to support this guy, I'm going to give it more visibility, I'm going to mint his collection, because I understood that he's here to stay. So
gotcha. That is such a great point, and I think that it's building a brand, it's consistency, it's building trust, and I think that it's the number one thing that not just NFT projects, but really any crypto project, and I see it happen a lot in the Hedera ecosystem. It's an important step that is missed. It's an exercise, I used to run a marketing agency and stuff. And for projects in Hedera, an exercise I would have them do is I would say, make me a list of like the top 5 or top 3 things that you want from this community, from this ecosystem. And it would be things like, I want to sell out my mint. I want to build up my Discord to 1,000 people. I want to, I want to make, 100,000 HBAR. I wanted this, I wanted that. They'd have this list. And then I'd say, all right, your job now is to make that happen for other people, right? Find a project, help them mint out, buy their NFT, help a Discord grow, help another community's Discord grow. Exactly. And don't even worry about your own Discord. Don't even worry about the artwork for your project right now. Put all that stuff on hold. Because, and I'd say to them, it's like the best NFT projects I know in the ecosystem, the creators are great collectors. They're great users. They're great consumers. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about building a community, which means being a part of other communities. I used to be in a rock and roll band, and it's like, you have to go to other people's shows. You have to buy other people's albums. You have to do these types of things. You have to wear their band shirt, right? So that's what we're talking about, is building that sense of community. So I think that's like a fantastic way of looking at it. And then really quick, then beyond that, when it comes to actually, okay, I've got my community, I've built all these relationships, I've built all this trust. Now I've got to make this thing. What advice do you have when it comes to that phase of like, you've got to make the NFT now? What advice would you have for people?
Well, that's the part where you definitely need to look for a platform that can help you with the launch. I'm not going to say, hey, go to SentX, because I'm here talking about SentX, but there's platforms out there. It's up to you to look the best ones and see which platform you want to utilize to launch your NFT. And it's always easier because you will have that platform's support, and they will help as well, because we have projects that come to us and ask all these questions that we are talking about here. But how I'm new to the ecosystem, how can I mint my collection? How can I grow my community? And we give tips, of course. We don't baby projects, because I don't think that's the way, because if we baby a project, we don't know if that if we are helping the person actually or not. But we try to help to the extent of what we can, while still letting the person do it on their own, so that they can be successful, or if not, learn from their mistakes. Because if you have a launchpad making a ton of noise for you, and you don't do any of the work needed to market, to grow your community, because someone else is doing that for you, then it's going to be really hard to maintain the project as well, because you don't have those skills. Those community building skills aren't there. So you might even sell your first collection, but then you might want to launch a new one a year from then, and you will not have the skills to keep your community alive for that year or for those 6 months. So it's really important to understand that launchpads are not a platform that will give instant success to a creator, that will do all the marketing for them, all the community growing for them, because the creator, the artist, needs to have those skills so that after a mint, they can keep the project alive.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. You want to build them up for success. There's going to be good times and hard times as we're going through now. And the great projects are ones that can make it through these hard times. So that's all really great advice. I'd encourage every new project coming in the space to take that advice. And then now, just as we kind of wrap up the convo, I wanted to just zoom in on SentX. I mean, we've been talking about all sorts of different things. We could talk for another hour as far as I'm concerned, but I wanted to zoom back in on SentX. Maybe for two things, right? For people that are maybe unfamiliar with SentX or don't really know anything about it, tell us a little more about SentX, and then what do you want the community to know about your marketplace heading into the end of the year and into 2025? I know you can't mention any alpha, but just what you want people to pay attention to.
Exactly. So for the ones that are not familiar with us yet, at SentX, we offer launchpad services, and we have a marketplace where people can trade their NFTs in a secure way without having to resort, like you mentioned earlier before, having marketplaces where you would trade with someone and that trust really had to be there, or else you would end up without NFT and HBARs. So a marketplace is always the secure way of trading your NFTs to make sure that you end up with the NFT. In this situation, you can use our platform, of course, to do that. I'm really happy to report that over the past 12 months, we managed to maintain over 90% of the network volume in terms of NFTs. I'm pretty sure that we are above 94%, but I don't want to exaggerate, so I'm going to say over 90% of the network volume in terms of NFTs. And what I want to tell people about us, because the marketplace you can discover, the launchpad you can discover, and all the features are there. We also have our Discord server that people can join, and we will help with everything that is needed. But what I want to tell people is that we have so many things that to be launched in terms of new features for the project that involve the marketplace, and also other new features that 2025, it's going to be definitely a very exciting year for us on the SentX side. And even still this year, because we have things that we want to launch still this year, and I need to bite my tongue on those because it's things that we are working in the background that aren't ready yet, and something that we learn. And I was saying that we need to learn from our mistakes. When we started, we would tell our community members, okay, we are going to work on a feature, but then other more pressing features came to mind, and we started working on those. And then people asked, but what about that initial one that you mentioned?
Right.
But things change, and things change all the time, and we need to adapt. We need to make sure that we can change directions to be better for the entire ecosystem. And this is something that, like I was saying, we learn from our mistakes. We stopped mentioning a new feature until we are close to be able to launch it. Because we never know if there's delays, if things can take a couple more weeks than we were thinking originally. So we need to make sure that first, we don't want to hype people just for the sake of hyping.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give concrete information about the things that we are building, when they will be out. So for these new features that I'm talking about, we will probably start talking about those a couple of days before launch, just for people to know that they are coming. And then in a few days, they are there to be tested and for people to start utilizing. We are not the type of project that relies on hype. I don't like that tactic. I prefer to use and have actual things that people enjoy, appreciate, give value to out for people to say, okay, I'm really enjoying this new feature, instead of creating huge demand for something that is still in the works. We don't like doing that at SentX. We like to say about things that are almost ready or out already for people to start playing with them.
Gotcha. That it makes it so all the more important for people to follow along with you, to hop into the Discord, all those different types of things, because you never know what's happening. You never know what's coming. It could be right around the corner. And I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind. I've heard this from a lot of projects. You have to be much more flexible at a time like this, because again, you don't know what's quite happening. There's so much change happening behind the scenes with the network, with this, with that. You have to constantly be changing priorities. The internal roadmap is like shifting around like crazy. So it's about your project, your community, having flexibility, being able to kind of go with the flow a little bit. So yeah, I agree 100%. And last question before we wrap things up, Patricia, was there anything that you wanted to chat about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I think we covered pretty much everything. Yes, it was a great chat. I don't think that we missed anything that is hugely important and that we forgot. I don't think that's the situation. So I just want to reiterate again for people to support the projects, support the creators, support the artists, because that goes a long way. And things as simple as a like on a post, like you saw that post on your feed, and I know that sometimes we see those and we are so busy that we read and that's it. But just those extra few microseconds to drop the like, to retweet the post, and it's fast, and like you said, it helps a lot, and it's the visibility for the project. So I just want to ask people to do that. When you see something about a project that you like on your X feed, share it so that more people will see it after you, instead of being just you the one reading it and that's it. So those extra microseconds.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guy, you heard it from Patricia right here. If you're watching the show right now, share the show, retweet it, get it out there, like it. That's what makes it go around. So really appreciate it. Patricia, I mean, it was way too long getting you on the show, and it just was so great having you on the show. To be honest, there's a lot of things I want to talk with you about, so we'll have to do a part 2 sometime. But until then, just really great to have in the show. Appreciate everything you're doing in the ecosystem. And, you know, I'm sure we'll be talking again, I think, literally tomorrow. So really great having you.
Yeah, if not later today still.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's do part 2 towards the end of the year or early 2025, when I will be able to talk about all the things that I can't right now. So yeah, definitely.
Right on. Perfect. Okay, Patricia, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Brandon.
Right on. Okay, so that was a fantastic conversation. It was way too long getting Patricia on the show, and I'm really happy we did, because it is so important to find that focus of looking at this network, because we talk about the problems in the ecosystem, we talk about the opportunities, we talk about how we grow. And, you know, to be honest, like a lot of the conversations I've had on this show and with people really have been overwhelming, because when we talk about Hedera, you're talking about it feels like a bazillion different things. And it's nice to, in these conversations, like conversations I have with Brady with, you know, DeFi, and then like we just had with Patricia with NFTs, it's nice sometimes to just tackle one area and go a little deeper. And you learn a lot from those conversations. And I think what we learned from Patricia is that I and maybe some other people have kind of been thinking about the NFT ecosystem right now in Hedera incorrectly a little bit, you know, as someone with an NFT project themselves, but also as someone that's like so busy in this space and hasn't really had a ton of time to be involved in the NFT ecosystem as much as I'd like to. You get the impression that like, oh man, everybody must be completely burnt out. The Discords must be completely dead. Everybody must be heads down working. And the reality is that behind the scenes, it seems like there's a lot of energy, like just waiting. And so, you know, having had that conversation just now, I'm getting, to be honest, I'm feeling a little refreshed in that regard. I had just, you know, got some new ghosts for the Dead Pixels mint, and I have been looking at some NFTs that I wanted to buy because prices are down, and I think it's a good opportunity to kind of like check some stuff out. And so it's good to know that stuff. It's good news. You know, I think that I went into this conversation going like, oh, let's see how bad it is, you know, but it turns out that, I think it's good news. Good news, NFT creators, NFT marketplaces, and communities are holding strong, and they're hungry. And they're, like we were talking about earlier in the show with Brady's comments regarding the delays with Bonzo Finance. We have to do the best with what we have. And, you know, the Hedera NFT ecosystem and creators are the best example of that. They're doing mints. There's stuff getting built. Patricia's talking about there's a bunch of stuff they've got going on that she's excited to talk about but can't. So I don't know. I'm getting a sense of energy where I thought that there would not be. So I love that. Now, quick shout out, support the show. Basically all the equipment I have, the subscriptions that the StreamYard subscription, all these different types of things, is all community supported. It's very simple. The wallet is 0.1725506, and send tokens to that wallet, and then I will sell them, and I will buy stuff for the show to make it better and pay things for the show. And I keep the show pretty simple. There's not a lot of overhead, and it's all community paid for by the community. So really appreciate that for people supporting the show. And if you just want a free way to support the show, like Patricia was saying, you know, follow and subscribe on X and YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify podcasts. We're on there too. We're streaming right now to YouTube and X and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. So engage. It's free. Support the show. And again, if you want to support financially, the Hedera wallet for the show is 0.0.1725506. So really, really appreciate that. Now, we got a couple other things we got to talk about today. One of those things is something I'm pretty excited about, to be honest. This has to do with block streams and block nodes. And now I work at Hgraph, a Hedera mirror node provider, data provider. This is kind of in my wheelhouse. And there's some very exciting aspects to this. So when we dive into it, we see this tweet, this post from Michael Garber at Hashgraph, aka Swirls Labs, with a link to HIP 1056 involving block streams. And so, you know, this is in GitHub. This HIP isn't live yet. You can kind of go in and see a preview of it, all that kind of stuff. So when we talk about block streams and block nodes and mirror nodes and these different types of things, what we're talking about is this other half of the network. The data side of the network, right? I talk about this a lot on the show, where many of the news stories we talk about, many of the exciting things that we talk about when it comes to Hedera are revolving around consensus nodes, putting stuff into the network, transactions, revenue, this, that. That's one half of the network. There's a whole other half of the network though, which is at this time, you know, mirror nodes, right? The data, where are those 70 plus billion transactions stored, right? The history of this network is dozens of terabytes. This kind of data resides on, you know, servers and hard drives. You know, we've got a bunch of servers and hard drives at Hgraph. Some of it's in the cloud. So there's a lot of this data that the network has. That's how you see what your wallet balance is. That's how you see your NFTs. That's how you see the charts about these different types of things. That's how we can see TPS. That's how we can see revenue, this data that we get access to. And so with these block nodes, and block streams, what this means is it's about making it easier and less expensive to operate this data side of the network, because that's a huge problem with it. It's very costly to provide this data and get this data that the network produces. We want to make sure it's as decentralized as possible, and that a kind of an economy can be created around this data because some of it's really valuable. So these block nodes and block streams, essentially what it's all about is tackling that key problem, right? Cloud storage, cost in hosting this data. And the solution is, again, block nodes and block streams. This is allowing for data providers to get started more easily. Right now, if you want to start providing data for people on the Hedera network via, a mirror node, there's terabytes and terabytes of data you kind of have to ingest. It takes a long time to get booted up. And so what this means is that flip it on and start delivering data and at the same time build up that history. So it's a much more grab and go type thing. A very simple way of putting it is right now it's very fixed. It's all or nothing. You got to get all of it and then do stuff with it. And in the future with these block nodes and block streams, data on Hedera is going to be much more flexible and affordable. And so that's very exciting. And it starts to create a landscape where we can have this kind of data economy where we can further decentralize. It's just really, really exciting stuff. And a mirror node is something that would work with a block node. And I'd encourage people that want to take a really deep dive into this, go into the stuff, especially I'd ask anyone to follow Richard Bear. I've had him on the show. He's the go-to guy for this kind of stuff because he's, senior vice president of software engineering at Hashgraph. He's on the technical steering committee for Hiero. He's right in there and he's been there for a long time. Like Patty was talking about, he's one of these people that's been here for a long time. He doesn't come across to me as the type of guy that has a plan B. He's really all about Hedera. He's an HBAR baron. Yeah, he's behind the scenes. Yeah, he's an engineer. Yeah, he's not posting memes to Twitter. I know, but good guy and definitely a follow to kind of get a good idea of what this stuff is all about. And block nodes, they're really a replacement for the record stream on S3. So that's what this is about, freeing up the data flow. And the other aspect to this is if we look back at this tweet, this is the most interesting component of this. Someone asks, can you explain this in layman's terms? And what Michael Garber says, and this is so important, is it essentially brings state proofs to Hedera. With state changes included in each block, services can independently verify the network state at any point. So then your brain starts going, okay, so earlier this year, they announced that they modularized the code base for Hedera. Okay, of the services. They're migrating the Hedera code base to Project Hiero under the Linux Foundation's decentralized trust. They've got this new massive hip that's been a long time in the making, enabling state proofs. Okay, so you start to build up this connection here and you go, wait, are these the infinity stones that we've needed for community nodes and anonymous nodes? And the picture's starting to become a little clearer, guys. I know that Hedera's been criticized when it comes to the roadmap, and they've had community nodes coming soon forever, and it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And so I get excited because now it's starting to make more sense. I wish that we would understand this stuff more as we went along. I wish there was more transparency around this. I think that it's been a detriment to the ecosystem to not have the transparency on all these things, but it's starting to make more sense now. And it's starting to feel like the pieces are being put in place to enable these types of things we want to see. So Michael Garber continues, he says, state proofs allow you to confirm any data on the network, like account balances, smart contract states, or transaction details without requiring the full state. It is a game changer for audits, cross-chain applications, and real-time data verification. So this is huge. This, I would encourage everybody to take a look at this. It feels like all these different ingredients I was talking about is all starting to come together and boil in a bit of a stew here, like Grelf and I were talking about episodes ago. And this right here, HIP 1056, block streams, feels like a major missing piece, right? This is something major for this network, block streams. And I'm very interested in it, being in the space that I'm in the data space on Hedera. And this is something we're investigating very closely. And this is a story we're going to follow very closely. Maybe I'll have Richard on the show again, who knows? But this is something I'm very, very, very excited about. And I think everyone should be excited about it. So keep an eye on this. We've got some real-time reactions to this as well. Grelf says is major. Very true. Milton says, oh my god. Absolutely agreed. And do we have any other comments from the show? Honestly, we're too deep into it. I'm scrolling back on all these comments. I get so many comments during the show. I got to get some kind of person to help me with these comments. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today, and arguably like one of the most important things, very similar to the block node type stuff where it's technical, but it has such outsized impacts on the future of this network and our experience using it, is HIP 904 frictionless airdrops. So a big problem in Hedera for a long time has been token association. Token association has actually been one of my favorite features of the network. But as we learn, as we go forward, as time passes, we better understand the impacts that it has on user experience, especially for people from other networks coming in. And so the upside of token association is, well, it's fantastic. You can't have things sent to your wallet that you don't want. That's really important. It's a big problem that people have on other networks. And then you look at it from an enterprise angle. A company, an enterprise, they in no way can they have stuff sent to their wallet that they don't want. It could put them in legal trouble. So Hedera is so cool, and this is an aspect of the network that I love, is we have this layer of security. And now going through this history on this network, these years, what we've learned is there's downsides to this. When you look at someone from Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, any of these other larger networks out there, Polygon, if you say to them, hey, I want to send you this token, I want to send you this NFT, but I need you to do something first. They're going to look at you like you have two heads. They're going to be like, what do you need me to do? Just send it to me. And you go, well, no. You need to take this number, go to your wallet, and you got to put it in, and you got to click it. And at that point, they've left. They've gone, this is stupid. They're not an enterprise. They don't get it. It creates friction, right? It makes it difficult for people to get involved. It makes it, like we were talking about in the show, it lowers the accessibility of Hedera. But again, flipping back, we don't want to lose the benefits of token association. So what's the solution? Well, there's been a solution tossed around for a while about how we get around this. And this solution has taken shape into HIP 904, frictionless airdrops. And essentially, put simply, what this HIP does, and we'll actually take a look at the actual HIP here. This is the actual HIP. Here's all the information about it. It's a long one, folks, so I'm not going to read it on the show. The show is already 5 hours long, it feels like. I'm just trying to download something. I'm trying to hit the back button. I don't want to download files. Get out of here. Anyways, I don't know what's going on. The Hedera website's acting weird today. I don't like it. So HIP 904, put simply, what it allows you to do is, let's say you have a friend on Ethereum coming into Hedera. They made a HashPack. They're ready to go. And you say to them, dude, I've got this ghost. I want to send it to you as a gift for coming over. You can just send it to them. Or you got a token. I got some of this meme token. I want to just send it to you as a gift. Just send it to them. And what happened in the past is you try to send it to them and you get an error that's like, can't be sent. They haven't associated. So there's that problem. Now it just sends. So what does it look like from the other person's end? Well, what they get is they get this kind of like inbox of stuff where it's like, here's stuff that people have sent you. Do you want to accept it or not? And so they can go, you know what? Yeah, he told me he was going to be sending that. I want that. Click, boom, I've got it now. Oh, that token? Yeah, I want that too. Click, boom, I've got that now. So, okay, we've removed a lot of friction. And we saw this with HashPack's Karate pack weighted airdrop, where an option was to just say, sign me up. And then HashPack was able to just airdrop a bunch of karate to people. Didn't matter if they were associated or not. And those folks could just get it. Also in this HIP introduces something else, which is unlimited token association slots. So what's that about? Well, what that's about is in your, it's not. It's token association slots, it's token association slots. So basically what this means is in your HashPack or your Blade wallet or your Kabila wallet, whatever wallet you're using, you have the ability to say, I want to allow people to send me 5 things without associating them. So let's say, for example, I'm in my wallet and I go, you know what? I want to open up 1 token association slot, which would allow someone to send stuff to me. Now what you can do is make it unlimited. So what you can do is basically effectively turn off token association on your wallet and switch it into something that behaves almost exactly like an Ethereum wallet or the user experience that you'd have on another network. So just send me whatever and I've got it. And the question then in your mind goes, well, some of these tokens, whether they're fungible or non-fungible, have custom fees, right? And some of those custom fees might be really high. Some of them might cost you a lot of money. So what this mix of new features allows you to do is find that happy medium. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the kind of inbox aspect to it, the ability to kind of see what's coming in and accept or decline it, because it's going to protect me from things coming into my wallet that I don't want, that maybe have a crazy fee assigned to them or something, or whatever it might be. I can say, nope, I don't want that. But I'm not going to have to associate everything. I'm going to just be able to have it all come in. So that's really, really cool. And I think that's going to be game changing. And now again, you can go to either side of that. You can go, you know what? Open it up. Send me anything. Or you can go, no, I want to stay locked down. I want to make sure I associate everything. It gives you choice. That's what we need. We need choice. Now, some more details about this is the sender pays all the fees. So the projects initiating these airdrops cover all the fees, and users receive the token without incurring any of the costs. So that basically means there's network fees and HBAR that's required to send stuff. And so what this does is it makes it so you can accept stuff into your wallet with no HBAR, which is huge. So when you think about projects that wanted to start up and say, hey, create a Hedera account, we'll send you some stuff. That's another big problem is even if you associated the product in your wallet, you still wouldn't be able to get it without having some HBAR in your wallet. So more blockers. Well, now that's removed. So now you can have somebody that has a new HBAR account or a new Hedera account with no HBAR, send them something. That's fantastic. So the sender pays all the fees. I love that. They've got the pending token transfers like I was talking about. There's new transaction types introduced into the network SDK. So like token airdrop, token claim airdrop, token cancel airdrop, token reject. The token reject is really important because it gives the user the ability to return the unwanted tokens to the sender without any fees. I don't want this, send it back, no fees. I think that's fantastic. And also too, the token cancel airdrop is important because let's say you do an airdrop and mess something up, you can cancel it. So I think that's really great too. And this benefits everybody, right? It benefits projects and developers, users. It just removes so many blockers. So I know that I won on the show a lot about problems and blockers and they're not doing this and that's not doing that. This is great. This is huge. HIP 904 is massive for this ecosystem. So again, I'd encourage people to just go check it out. If you're not technical, hopefully this gives you enough of an interview, and just, I want everybody to be aware that it's going to be so much easier to bring new people into this ecosystem, right? When we think about the holidays coming up, like Thanksgiving and Christmas and any other types of holidays you'll be celebrating, when you're with family and friends, you know, in the past, I'd be like, you know, oh, my uncle is, you know, asking me about this Hedera thing and it's so cool, but we're at dinner. I don't want to go through all the steps with them, open a HashPack, and then I got to send you some HBAR, and then I got to get you associate this thing. And I'm going to send you, it's too much, and it prevents me from onboarding people. But now what we can do is we can say, hey, open a wallet, send me your address, I'm going to send you some goodies. I mean, that's amazing to be able to do that. It just changes everything. So I think that what this does is it turbocharges, it supercharges onboarding for the Hedera ecosystem. It makes it incredibly easy to bring people in. So use it, try it out, check it out, experiment, send tokens to people, feel it out, because it's going to be the new user experience for Web3, I think, because these are all the options now. You can have it any way you like it. An enterprise can have their wallet completely locked down. A degen can have their wallet opened up entirely. And I just pulled my headphones out. There we go. And someone like me can kind of ride in the middle and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to kind of use this kind of stuff and check out what's coming in and coming out and all those different types of things. So I think this is awesome. And I think that this is going to really blow the doors off of stuff. And it gives projects like HashPack and Kabila and Blade and these wallet providers new ways to enhance the user experience, right? What is the user experience going to look like in these wallets? How slick is it going to be? That's going to be really exciting to see, because some of these teams are just incredible with that stuff. So that is frictionless airdrops. That's something I'm really excited about. Did I miss anything this week? Oh yeah. Last thing, I missed this. Canary Capital, really quick. So Canary Capital, this was really exciting. I know that they had Greg Bell from the HBAR Foundation on the NASDAQ show and talking about Canary Capital. And I think that this one is really, really interesting because, and we talked about it pretty in depth in the show. But again, you know, this is an easy way for people to, when we talk about institutional investors, family offices, people that want to buy HBAR that can't open a wallet. Quick question from Monty on the show. Is HIP 904 live? I don't believe so yet, but it will be on mainnet soon. It's on testnet now, and it's been voted on, and we're all clear. So the next mainnet update, I think it'll be on mainnet. So Canary Capital is huge because, again, we talked about on the show, you know, the co-founder of it is from Valkyrie Funds. So it's like, it's a well-established initiative. It makes it easy for people in institutions to buy and hold HBAR, and it paves the pathway for an HBAR ETF. We talked about this on the show. And the interesting thing here, the update here, is that on SEC.gov, the Securities and Exchange Commission, fuck you, Gary, we can go on the SEC website and we can see a filing, Form D filing. Now, a Form D filing is a brief notice that companies must file with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission when they offer securities without registration under Regulation D, providing essential information about the company and the exempt offering. So this is a filing on the SEC website from Canary Capital, which is the Canary HBAR Trust. Look at that. That's huge. So here's the filing. It's got all the information, right? It's got Stephen McClurg, who is the founder of the Valkyrie Fund, and also is familiar with. This is the other thing too about this about Canary Fund is, these folks have already got ETFs listed for Bitcoin, so they're familiar with that process, right? And furthermore, if we get HBAR, I know we've got the ETP, the exchange traded product in Germany and stuff like that, in the Frankfurt exchange, which is great. But the US is so important because if HBAR clears this and Canary can have this HBAR trust, what it does is it not only paves a pathway for HBAR ETFs, but it also makes it way more likely that HBAR will be included in those basket ETFs, those index ETFs, right? Those exchange traded funds that might hold Ethereum, Bitcoin, this, that, and this, and HBAR. So this is really about HBAR getting their foot in the door, right? This is really what this is all about. And so got to give the HBAR Foundation a shout out on that. It's good to see Greg making these moves. And I mean, it seems kind of crazy to say HBAR ETF out loud, you know, but again, this is part of the strategy of Canary Capital. This is what they want to see. They'd like to have an HBAR ETF. And the reason they chose HBAR as one of their first products is because of the governing council, of these different types of things. So it's not all bad news, right? It's not all bad news. So that's all the stuff today. Great conversation with Patricia from SentX. And yeah, I mean, the theme of the show today was, you know, Uptober, where are you? And I think really the answer here, based off the conversation I had with Patty and also thinking about where we're at in the market, and even just now talking about Canary funds and thinking about an HBAR ETF, is there's two sides to it, right? One side of it is, wow, a lot has to change in this market for Bitcoin to start seeing new all-time highs and for things to really turn around. But also at the same time, we really have to think about this ecosystem and kind of go, you know, do we have the capability to have a pop-off moment ourselves? We joke about, does HBAR decouple? Do we have a moment? Do we lead in some way besides technology? Is that a possibility? And, you know, the conversation with Patricia today, it's like in the NFT space, that might be a possibility to be able to do that. It's happened before. And so I think about the institutional investment space, real world assets, ESG, supply chain, all these different types of things. Can Hedera have a moment? And it's weird to think about because I've spent so much time on the show recently talking about problems in this ecosystem, but it definitely gets you thinking, you know, it is possible. Grelf makes a good comment here. We better have a moment. Everyone else got one. And is it the case where it's just ours to go out and reach, right? Do we have everything we need? Is there more to be done? Are we going in the right direction? Are things happening fast enough? Are we seeing the change we need to see? Those are all the questions that we're asking, that we're focused on. And that's ultimately going to be what it comes down to. But bringing everything back to the beginning of what we were talking about, what really matters right now is two things. How much attention is this ecosystem getting? And how accessible is it, right? How accessible is it to build here? And how accessible is it to get HBAR? And there's lots of problems there. We're not getting enough awareness, and it's not accessible enough. We know that there are things happening that are working towards those problems, solving them. Is it happening fast enough? Are we doing the right things? This is when we kind of just got to have trust and lean on each other, lean on the ecosystem. This is like any startup space, right? I see this happening in the artificial intelligence space. We saw this during the .com bubble. Sometimes what it really comes down to is just being at the right place at the right time and going with the flow a little bit. So with that, great episode today. Great conversation again with Patricia from SentX, and great to see SEC filings for, you know, an HBAR product. I think that's fantastic. And what I would say to anybody is, you know, just generally a big topic we talked about today is like, now, is it a good time to be starting a project, to be diving in, to be investing, to be doing these types of things? History shows very often that one of the best times to get started is in a recession or a market downturn or a bottom or a lull. You know, there's a lot of opportunity there. So that's what's on my mind going forward into the year. And on the show too. I've been doing a lot more interviews. I've been keeping the news tight. I think that the format of the show is improving. There's a lot more change and stuff coming to the show. I mean, I think about going back to the first episodes of the show. It was just me on my phone with my Apple earbuds, wired Apple earbuds, on Clubhouse and then Twitter Spaces, you know, and then now here with all this equipment and all this kind of stuff, which is only made possible by the community. So hugely appreciative to you guys. And, you know, I think that I'm feeling optimistic, cautiously optimistic. Like I said, I think that there's no plan B. This is the network. If Hedera can't do it with the technology that it has, it's going to be really difficult to see that enterprise adoption. And if Bitcoin can't break through, well then, you know, we're screwed. So I feel confident. We're in here. We know what's going on. I love the joke this episode. Like, we were born here. You know, I'm seeing people comment that. It's like, yeah, you know, so let's dig in. Let's really stick with it. And yeah, let's really stick with it. Quick note as well. I always post clips from the show. There's a YouTube playlist that has hundreds of clips. Go check it out from the show. It's got all the highlights and different things like that. I'm posting them to X. The show's available on Spotify podcasts and Apple podcasts too. So go check it out there, support the show. And let's keep it going. Let's keep it optimistic. Let's get a little light. I know that we still have to stay serious. We still have to stay focused on problems. We can have some fun too along the way. We got some NFTs coming. We got some mints coming. I will have Dead Pixels on the show soon. So stay tuned for that, at the right time. But with that, keep building, stick with it. Let's rock and roll. Hello, future. Goodbye, past.
Thanks for listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, hosted by Brandon Davenport.
Listen to past episodes and support the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR.